Great news. Dirty Keto is now on Amazon. If you're living in the U.S., go straight to Amazon and get Dirty Keto. Watch it, rate it, and review it. If you're outside of the U.S., meaning Western Europe or Canada or Mexico, it's not there yet. Don't ask me why. Listen, those people made me put a PG-13 rating on it when there was nothing in it that would have caused that. But let's get ahead of this thing. Let's watch it, rate it, and review it. Go get Dirty Keto right now, and on with the show.
Thanks for listening to Vinny Tortorich on NSNG Lifestyle Audio. From Los Angeles, California, this is the Fitness Confidential Podcast with Vinny Tortorich, founder of NSNG, and his co-host, Anna Vicino.
I am Vinny Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, just like the beautiful Miss Anna Vicino.
Used to spend my nights out in ballroom. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back, being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee.
Yeah, she's as smooth as Tennessee whiskey.
Oh,
That's right.
am I now?
Oh, yeah, you are pretty. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. Yeah. You know the song, right, Anna?
Yeah. This is a favorite of a lot of ladies.
Yeah, Chris Stapleton.
This is that romantic.
Yeah. Hey, folks, if you ever want to have a great time, go watch black guys listening to Chris Stapleton for the first time do Tennessee whiskey on YouTube, because a lot of times,
a category?
yeah, a lot of African Americans, they'll go, "Oh, we don't listen to country music. We like whatever we like, right?" Mm-hmm. But every now and again, like there's a great one. There's a great one where
Chris Stapleton crosses the borders.
Well, no, what they do is they'll get them to like. There's the one where the first one I remember being done was the song by. We were talking about him a few weeks ago, the drummer for Genesis, Phil Collins.
Phil Collins.
In the Air Tonight. And the whole time, these two guys are sitting there just listening and not really getting into it. But when he kicks in with that drum solo at the end, they just lose their shit. And they go, wait a minute. One of them actually stops and goes, wait a minute. That's a white dude? Which is
even crazier, a white British dude.
Yeah, whiter than white. Like white people are not as white as that dude.
Whiter than mayonnaise.
So the African Americans with the country and western music, they'll go, nah, we don't listen. But when you hear that song, it's so soulful, right? It just crosses all genres.
I have seen so many people when that song comes on, whether it's at a restaurant or a bar or you're at a party, they just stop. They're just like, people have a moment with that song. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And he's, by the way, as you know, I'm a big fan of, cowboy boots. I've been wearing them for years, since first or second grade. And, I actually have a pair of Lucchese's who they're called, the Chris Stapleton edition Lucchese boot. Yeah. Got one of those in my collection.
Oh,
that's right. Had them on just yesterday, I think. Yeah. I call them my Tennessee whiskey boot. They're leather. They're, a really nice leather. And they're brownish, kind of beat up now. I've had them for a couple of years. But, the more beat up they get, the better they get. That's right.
You always look good in cowboy boots. That's a good look for you.
When I showed up to D.C. a couple of weeks ago, I had on my Vinny Texas tuxedo. There's a picture on my Instagram of me and Tony Hampton. He's nicely dressed up in a suit, and I'm dressed up in the Texas tuxedo, my Jay Leno special shirt, along with a pair of Levi's. And I think, you know what? I'm not sure. I cannot say for sure, but I might have had those boots on in that photo. Yeah, I'm gonna look at the photo and see if I can see if the boots are actually in the photo. I don't know if we cropped that part out or not.
You might have cropped it out.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, you can't see I don't even think, I didn't crop the picture, so I'm pretty sure I had those boots on because I went, you know what, these are kind of comfortable all-day boots. All of my boots are super comfortable, so anyway, Anna, we're going to be talking about weightlifting today. 101. And we do these.
Sit down and to get a notepad, y'all.
Yeah, we do this every kind of couple of times per year. Now, a lot of people, they read my book and then they're surprised to learn that I know anything about weight training because they think I'm this ultra athlete. It's like, yeah, he's just this ultra athlete, this endurance guy. He only knows how to go long. You're
known as the ski skates guy. That's what you're known for.
Yeah, of course. Only you and Serena remember that.
Skates of 2016.
Yeah. I did those things every day for like a year. I was like doing it.
Serena would be like, oh, you should see him on the ski skates.
Yeah. So it's these kind of things made so you can mimic cross-country skiing on the road. And that was
I think that's awesome. I would love to try them.
Yeah, I went out to Thousand Oaks every day, and the least amount I would do, you would have to have the poles, the big cross-country ski poles, except they had rubber tips on them on the bottom.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Actually, no, they had like a metal tip. It was a metal tip, but it wasn't pointy. It was like, so you were able to do the movement. You were able to grind in and do the ski movement. And these things are long. They're about 2.5 feet long each. And you use your regular ski boot, your cross-country ski boot, where it's just hooked in the front. Every cross-country skier in the off season, this is how they train, but they train at a facility where, they actually make asphalt trails for them to go on. I was out in Thousand Oaks. I found a 5-mile loop. And the least I would do in between clients is one loop. Sometimes I would do as many as 3 loops. That's right. How
long did it take you to do one loop on the ski skates?
I can't remember, but it was a workout, man. It was a kick-ass because cross-country skiing is a kick-ass workout. Very difficult to stay in zone 2, right? So I would have to pick a pace and kind of stick with that pace because a lot of times I would pull into zone 3. Like if I was doing 3 laps, like the 15 miles, I would start, the cardiac drift would happen where I would, go into zone 3 a lot, right? Now, it would take a lot to pull it back. But my beginning was in weightlifting, going way the hell back to, I think in my book I said my 8th or 9th birthday, because when you start doing something like that, you don't really remember when you start. And folks, if you're new to this podcast, you're going, wait a minute, an 8-year-old? Come on, 9 years old? What are you talking about? Here's the thing, and I'm recapping what was in Fitness Confidential, but here goes. When I was a young kid, I had a really bad speech impediment that came as a result of I was legally deaf when I was really young, right? So I had a really bad problem. And they were able to do a couple of surgeries, and they got my hearing back. I still have some hearing disorder, but I hear perfectly fine. But it left me with, I sounded like what a deaf person sounds like. I never learned how to, use a lot of diction. Any diction you hear now is just been a lifetime. I'm 62 years old. It's just been a lifetime of work to get to this level. Throw on top of that, coming from the Bayou in Cajun country, which is its own language, its own patois, as it would be called. You know, all of it kind of plays into, you know, where I was in life. And I was being beat up in school a lot. That was back in the days when kids would get their ass kicked because they were different, all that kind of stuff. This is not a woe is me story. This is a nerdy kid story who the only thing I was interested in was watching Wide World of Sports when I was a kid, because it was a show that came on Saturdays. The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, the human drama of athletic competition, blah, 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 blah. And that show would come on a Saturday afternoon, and I was all in. We're talking about the early 70s. Why? Because it was the wide world of sports, and it would show things like snow skiing. Now, when you grow up in a swamp on a bayou in southern Louisiana and you see snow, that's exciting. And it was never snowing where I was when I was a kid. So if you know, they would show from Kitzbühel, Austria, you know, the ski jump competition. That was one of my favorites. The ski jump competition from Kitzbühel, where these guys were flying through the air and coming back in and doing this whole thing, right? So I was into watching that, and I would never miss it. But right after that, there was this fitness show that would come on with a guy named Jack LaLanne. Now, everyone knows he's the godfather of fitness. Jack LaLanne would come on, and I found him interesting. The guy wore a onesie, and he sat on a chair backwards, and he would talk about health and fitness, and he would talk about nutrition. And by the way, some of the same things I talk about here. Eat protein. You got to eat eggs and whole milk, and he would talk about all this stuff. And then he would demonstrate exercises. Now, some of the exercises were pretty simple, where he would have his legs spread, you know, about 2 or 3 feet apart, and he would have his hands on his hips, and then he would go down, keeping his knees straight, and go down and touch his left foot with his right hand, and then come back up and put that hand back on the hip and go down and touch his right foot with his left hand and repeat. Sometimes he would do jumping jacks, and this was all the calisthenics and the warm-up stuff. And then from there, he would go into doing exercises with dumbbells and barbells. And I was very interested because Mr. LaLanne had a big vein running down his bicep on both sides. And his biceps, even to a young kid like me, an 8-year-old, the connotation, right? They connoted strength to me. And my young brain put together that if you lift heavy things above your head, you can get these bulbous muscles and these veins running in your arms, just like Jack LaLanne. Now, here's the difference. When I watched cartoons as a kid, I knew that, you know, the heroes in the cartoons, I knew that they weren't real. I knew that Superman wasn't real. I knew that all of these kind of cartoony bodybuilder, the Hulk and all that, you know, I knew all of that wasn't real. I also knew that Jack LaLanne wasn't those. He was like a real life flesh hero that was lifting something above his head and doing jumping jacks and push-ups. So what did I do? After Wide World of Sports every week, I would then watch Jack LaLanne and try to mimic everything he was doing, except I had one big giant issue. I was able to do the push-ups. I was able to do the jumping jacks and touching my toes, keeping my legs straight. And I would really pay attention and watch. I guess I was always keen at watching and mimicking exactly what he was doing. The problem I had was I didn't have weights. So by the time and by the way, I only did these exercises once a week. I didn't realize that you were supposed to do them repeatedly over and over and over. And I never saw any muscle gain, but I just knew if I kept doing them, one day I would see something. For God's sake, I was like 8 or 9, right? So by the time I was like 10, I had found a pipe. It was a metal pipe, but it was hollowed out, and it was pretty lightweight. But to me, it looked like what Jack was lifting over his head. And I found, you can find bricks, like bricks that are left on a house. Sometimes they have 3 holes in them, and that allows the mortar to go down to the bricks. It makes it a stronger hold onto the house. I found some of those because they were building a house right down the street from my house, and they had bricks. So I snatched 2 of those, brought them home. And I put my bricks on the end of the bar and tried to mimic what Jack was doing. The deadlift, the high pull, the shoulder press. I couldn't do the bench press because I didn't have a bench. And what would happen is the bricks would slide off of my lightweight pole. So what I would do is I would put the bricks as close to my hands as possible and try to keep them touching my hand while I was trying to lift the bar above my head. And I was so adamant about doing this that I started cutting up the edges of my hands, right? I would have calluses and cuts on my hands. So my great uncle, I say great, do people know, Anna, do they know what a great aunt or great uncle is?
Yeah, everybody has one, right?
Well,
whether or not they're alive is the question.
Right. Well, some people go, great uncle, was he great to you? No, a great uncle. So an uncle, like if my mom has a brother, which she did, that's an uncle. My grandfather's brothers, that you would consider those great uncles, right? So one removed. And we lived around all of our relatives. And my Uncle Frank would always regale me with stories about being a Golden Glove boxer and kicking everyone's ass in the Army back in the big one, WW2, and doing all this kind of stuff. And the guy was built like Barney Fife. He was just skinny and, the whole thing. But he knew how to throw a punch, and he would teach me how to throw punches and the whole thing. And one day, he was always interested in football, and he was, just a really cool guy. He saw these cuts on my hands, and he said, my God, what happened? You have it on both of your hands. What happened? And I showed him my makeshift barbell, and I said, Uncle Frank, I'm going to be strong just like Mr. LaLanne one day. And he goes, Jack LaLanne? And I said, yeah. He goes, how do you know Jack LaLanne? I said, he comes on after Wide World of Sports on the television. And he goes, so what do you do with your barbell? And I showed him, right? I said, now you got to keep the bar, you got to keep it steady, Uncle Frank, because if you move it, the weights will fall off, and sometimes it hits my feet. I've hurt my feet a few times. But I'm showing him, I said, I got to keep it close to my hands and the whole thing. And I saw this man, I saw this smile, and I think he was also choking back tears. Mm-hmm. Italians are a bit emotional. We're an emotional group of people.
A little bit.
And he goes, how often do you do this? And I said, once a week, just like Mr. LaLanne. And he goes, well, you realize you got to do it more than once a week if you want your muscles to grow. And I went, oh, so that's why it's not working, right?
Not the fact that you're 10 years old.
And 10 years old and one set. I didn't realize you were supposed to do Jack's show was a half an hour. He had to show a bunch of things.
Right.
I didn't get the nuances of working out, right? So he goes, I'm going to introduce you to someone. And I tell this whole story in Fitness Confidential. He goes, I'm going to introduce you to someone, Joe Bonadonna. And I said, well, who's this? And he goes, he's better than Jack LaLanne. And I said to myself, not to him, I went, that's bullshit, because nobody's better than Jack LaLanne. But I met Joe, and guess what? This dude it looked like someone hung 2 honey baked hams on his chest. I mean, this guy had a big giant chest. He had giant arms. He had veins running through his body. His legs, he looked like a superhero. First time I met Joe and he shook my hand and he spoke to me like a normal person. And I say normal person because I was so used to being teased and just being alone and the whole thing. And I told my mom, I met Joe Bonadonna, and she said, oh, my God, we all grew up together. I was like, you know Joe? It's like, no, Joe. I mean, we're like brother and sister. And my dad's like, wait, you met Joe? How did you meet Joe? Uncle Frank took me to Joe's house. What are you doing at Joe? I got this weight. They're like, why didn't you ask us? I was like, I didn't know Joe existed. That's why. You guys never told me about this crazy Italian guy that you all grew up together in the slums together when you were kids. And Joe became this real strong guy. He was a great athlete in high school, and the whole thing. So I'm learning all about my new hero, right, Joe Bonadonna. And, again, stories in the book, I talk about how he said, look, I need you to show up every day at my gym. He had all these weights. A lot of it, some of it was homemade stuff, like he had welders make stuff for him. None of it was the shiny equipment you see today. He had leg extension and leg curl machines, homemade. His bench was a pine wood. It was thick, heavy pine. I used to bench press and my shoulder blades would cut into the pine. I would have blood on the back of my T-shirts when I was done with working out when I was a kid because I was bony. Right?
It's like medieval torture.
I did not. And he told me, he goes, one thing is you got to be committed. Don't miss a day. Don't miss a day. We're going to do this. At
you
first,
don't tell Vinny Tortorich not to miss a day.
I would go to school if I had pneumonia or a flu or anything. Yeah. I would go to school because I needed that bus to get me to school so I can walk to Joe's from school. Mm. I needed that conveyance to get me somewhere near Joe's house. Right. And that became my commitment. And as the story goes, by the time I was like, 12, people that I didn't know about this, but people that heard about this kid that can bench 200 pounds. Folks, I know it sounds crazy, and I know you think I'm BSing, but I can bring friends on to this podcast. And everybody heard about this wonder kid who could bench 200 pounds, right? Now, by the time I was 12, I had hit puberty somewhere around 11 and a half. By the time I was 12, I was putting on muscle and looking pretty damn good. I didn't know it at the time. I've gone back and seen photos of myself because you don't have an awareness of yourself when you're that young. No. But Joe started taking me to Baton Rouge to do lifting expeditions. Look up Boyer Coe, Anna. He was a major bodybuilder back in the day.
I don't know how to spell that. Boyer?
Boyercoe.
Oh, there he is. Look at that guy.
Yeah, I met Boyer Coe when I was 12. I went to Boyer Coe's. I went to where he was training in Baton Rouge or somewhere. I think he was in Baton Rouge. He was a major bodybuilder, really short guy, shorter than Joe. And they would have me bench press in front of all these other men. And I didn't understand why they thought what I was doing was impressive because they would throw 3 plates on, right? And just pump it like it was nothing. But they were somehow impressed with me, right?
That's so sweet. I love it.
Yeah. And, I met all of these guys. I went to Fox's gym. People who listen to this from Baton Rouge went to Fox's and all these other. Fox was the guy's name. Every gym was named after the guy. Right. So by the time I started playing football, I realized I needed to do more with squats and lunges and leg press and the whole thing. Joe got me into that. And I'm here to tell you today, okay, genetics comes into play when you play football, when you play D1 football. There's no doubt about it. But he made me into the athlete that I became, right?
That's amazing.
I was easily able to squat into the mid 500s, deadlift close to that, bench pressed over 400 pounds. By the way, folks, all natty, all natural, no drugs.
Gear.
No gear,
no
juice, as they call it. They call it gear now. Folks, if you don't know what the lingo is,
I never
steroids.
Heard that, so you told me.
Yeah.
Vinny, I have been instructed to go. I got to take him in.
Okay. So Anna, here's what we're going to do.
I texted him just now and said, I'm going to do about 10 more minutes with you, and then I'm going to let you do the weightlifting portion.
All right. So Anna, here's, folks, what you don't realize is the reason I went into that long story, because Anna had,
story. I think it's
Anna had to step away for a minute. So Anna, you go,
health emergency going on in my household.
You go right now, and deal with that, and everything's going to be okay, right, Anna?
Sure,
okay.
Absolutely. Everything's always okay.
I'm going to continue the podcast. I
want to tell the Sam Elliott story real quick before you get into your 101.
No, let's save it. Let's hang it.
Save it. Let's tease it out.
Let's tease it out one more week. And look, the fact that Anna picked up the mic today is commendable.
I'm sorry to bail. I love you guys.
Anna, I'm going to do all of your plugs for you at the end. Don't worry. And I'm going to take it from here. By the way,
this comes out, I think, Monday, November 4th. And I believe if all goes as planned, Wednesday, November 6th, I'm going to be on Watch What Happens Live on Bravo Behind the Bar. So for those of you listening who are Bravo fans, I see you. We see each other.
Yeah, whatever that means.
That's inside Bravo joke. So tune in to Watch What Happens Live. I'm going to be behind the bar.
And there she goes.
Okay. And there I go. No, thank you, Vinny.
But Anna, please, Anna, you have to leave your browser open if you don't mind. Do not.
That's fine. Oh no, I have to take my computer with me. I'm going to be gone for like all night.
Ooh. All right. So, X out. And if we don't have a video for this week, we don't have a video.
I bet we will.
We'll see.
Let me leave studio and let's see what it does. And I won't close it out just yet.
Okay.
But, I'm sad to miss the weightlifting 101. Everybody get a pad of paper out because you're going to think that you can memorize everything he's going to say. You can't. You have to write it down. I promise. Okay. Bye.
Love you, Anna. Good luck.
Love you. Bye.
There she goes. So, at any rate, that's how I got into weightlifting. I count weightlifting as why I am where I am in life today. I owe everything to it. If you're watching this on a video, you notice I have a gym. That gym is not there as a prop. That is a proper rack that's behind me, and you see a barbell hanging on that rack. I have a full gym in my house, and I use it. I also go to work out at a gym in town because I'm here to tell you that it's difficult and sometimes boring, and it's better to be around other people. If you're suffering with other people, it's easier. The question always comes up, what's better for weight loss, aerobics or anaerobics? And we answered that question last week. The answer is, I don't know. And if anyone has a definitive answer or says something with any sort of certitude, they're bullshitting you. I believe that we need to work both engines, the aerobic engine for cardiovascular health. It works your mitochondria, it works your heart, it helps you build stamina, and also anaerobics. It helps build muscle. And as we get older, we have a little something called sarcopenia. If you're building muscles, you're going to also be building soft tissue. And if you're building soft tissue, you're also building bone. So everything is important. Anaerobic and aerobics. So there you have it. With that in mind, weightlifting is pretty damn simple, folks. It's kind of like the dentist used to say. Only floss the teeth you're planning on keeping. There's a lot of truth in that. I always say only work the muscles you plan on keeping. So people go, wait a minute, that's a lot. Do I have to work every muscle in my body? Short answer, yes. Every muscle in your body needs to be worked. Okay? So how do you get that done? Well, it could be as simple as just doing compound movements. So if you consider the upper body, you can either push something away from you or pull something towards you. And you can do that in 3 or 4 different manners, right? So you can push weights above your head. That's called shoulder press. So it's going to primarily work your shoulders, but it's not going to only work your shoulders. You're going to also be working your triceps. You're going to be working the top part of your pecs, the top part of your chest. A lot of the muscles in your back around your scapulae, your traps and everything else are supporters of that. So you're going to be working all of that. So you're pushing something away. You're pushing it above your head. And then if you want to come a quarter way down, you could do an incline press. This is going to work, again, your shoulders, your deltoids, your traps. Not your traps so much. I meant to say your pecs. And you're working the top part of your chest. And if you do something right over the middle, that's pushing right above you. That's your chest. You're pushing something directly away from you. It's like doing a push-up. It's the same thing. Now you're doing a compound movement. Again, triceps, shoulders, and chest. Now there's one other movement. You can push directly down towards your hips. You have to be strong enough to do dips. There's an exercise called dips. So you could push up, you could push out, and you could push down. And that's all you really have to do, right? You've now worked all of your muscles in a pushing motion, right? When you're pulling something towards you, you could do a lat pull down. That's pulling from above your head down to your clavicle. The clavicle is those 2 bones right below your neck. It's called a lat pull down. You can do them wide, you can do them close. Either way, it's a compound movement. A compound movement means you're moving more than one joint at one time. I'll tell you what the opposite is in just a minute. But you're moving, when you're pulling, you're moving your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder joint, and you're pulling it towards yourself. That's a compound movement. Okay? Then you could do a rowing style exercise, meaning you're pulling something towards you, right towards your navel or right towards your rib cage. You could do it wide, you can do it close, right? Compound movement. You're using the same joints. You're pulling something towards you. All of this is working your back. You're working your lat or your latissimus dorsi, if I want to get fancy with you. You have your rhomboids, you're working your trap muscles, and all of the levator scapulae and the teres majors and minors and all of the back muscles, the upper back muscles. You're pulling everything. And you can also do a high pull where you're starting with a barbell at your waist, you're standing up, and you pull that bar to right below your chin with your elbows above the bar. All of these motions, okay, are compound movements. If you walked out of the gym after that, you've done a complete upper body workout. Okay? We'll get into sets and reps in just a minute. Now for the legs are even simpler, right? Only compound movements, meaning you're going to use your hips, your knees, and your ankles. So a good example would be squats. A lot of people are going to go, I hate squats, I can't do squats, I have a bad lower back. Now they have a machine called a belt squat where you're holding the weight around your waist. A lot of gyms have the new belt squat style machine. You can also do a leg press. Most gyms have 2 or 3 different forms of leg press. These are all compound movements. You could do lunges, which is, if you're a Christian, it's like genuflecting, right? You could do it without weights. You could do it with weights. That's with weights. That's just a one-legged squat. Okay? That's a lunge. People are going to say, well, what about Bulgarian split squats, right? That's the same as a lunge, except you're putting the back leg higher, so it's causing a different effect on your leg. So those are all compound movements. If you do a deadlift, yes, you're using your arms, but it's a deadlift. It's a leg exercise. That's also a compound movement. If you've done all of those exercises, you've done everything you can do to work your body. So now you're going to ask the question before I get into giving you guys the different types of routines. Well, Vinny, you left a lot of things out. I didn't hear you talk about curls or triceps or deltoid raises or flies or hamstring curls or quadricep extensions. Why didn't you talk about those? All of those are auxiliary exercises, right? They don't naturally occur in nature. What that means is you're singling out, you're isolating a muscle. Example, the barbell curl. You're isolating just to do a curl motion, right? And that the effect of that is you'll get more bulbous biceps. If you did a tricep extension, you're going to get more bulbous. You're going to add more, muscle to your triceps. But it doesn't do anything in the real world. Now, if you're a bodybuilder or you're interested in bodybuilding, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these exercises. The only problem I find with these exercises is that they take a lot of time, and I just don't have that kind of time. I don't know about you. If you're doing a lat pull, if you're doing a rowing exercise, if you're doing a high pull, if you're doing pull-ups, you're working your bicep. If you're doing bench press, shoulder press, dips, you're working your triceps. If you have the time and you want to finish them off by doing those things, knock yourself out. The same with chest flies. You're now isolating the pectoralis majors and minors by doing chest flies, right? So yeah, knock yourself out and do those. No problem. If you have time. Will you get better by doing those? Yes. To a degree, you will see more muscle. And if you're into that, you want to do competitions, you want to look great on the beach. But trust me, I don't do any of those, and I get everything I need just from doing the compound movements. With the legs, the leg curls and the leg extensions, same thing. Speaking of Jack LaLanne, he was the guy that invented the original machine to do leg extensions and leg curls. Most people don't know that. Back when Sandoval and all those guys back in the early 1900s were just lifting barbells and dumbbells, those devices did not exist. It was brought in with the likes of my hero, Jack LaLanne, and one of my other heroes, who's a lot young, about the same age as Jack, Vince Gironda, who was also a great trainer and trained a lot of the Hollywood elite back in the day. Those guys ushered in a lot of those machines that we see today. So it's not really needed. I normally have people do leg extensions and leg curls to actually rehab a knee injury that comes from cycling or rowing or mostly running because of the imbalance you get from doing a repetitive sport. Is it needed? No. Is it okay to do? Absolutely. The other one that I did not mention is the calf raise, or some people call them heel raises. Are these necessary? No. If you want to have nice looking calves, do them. How many? You do them until I always say do calves until your ass hurts. That means you've done the proper amount. Calves are hard to build up. Now, if you guys can give me a quick break, because I've been talking and drinking espresso here. And since I don't have Anna to do an ad for me so I can drink water, I'm going to stop here for a second and drink a sip of water. Sorry. Back in the days when I did radio, you talk for 10 minutes and then you go into commercials, and that's generally when we would drink water and go take a leak. But when you're doing long form by yourself like this, a monologue, sometimes you just run out of gas on your back of your throat. It gets a bit dry. Sorry about that. Anyway, reps and sets. Now, if you listen to Bro Science, you'll get all kinds of answers. Some of it correct, none of it wrong. Is some better than others? The truthful answer is, I don't know. I've been very successful over the years doing all sorts of different type of protocol. I'll give you some of the general protocol that everyone likes. And then within that, there's all kinds of stuff like ascending sets, declining sets, just all different kind of stuff. But I generally like doing 3 sets. And you're going to ask about reps. We can talk about reps in a minute. But I like doing 3 sets. Here's why. If you do 1 set, well, we'll talk about 1 set later, but I like doing a warm-up set where I can easily do 12 or even 15 reps and I'm still not worn out. And as I get older, that becomes more and more important. And it should be important for you too. So you will go, well, Vin, why would you waste a set? It's not a wasted set. You're getting synovial fluid to move to your joints. You're waking up the muscle in the area you're getting ready to work. And, you'll feel that kind of wake up blood pump sort of thing. Second set, I put a weight on to where I don't want to get past 8 reps. If I get to 9 or 10 reps, I'll make a note of that. Some people keep a notebook, but I'm pretty good at remembering the stuff. I've been doing it for, God only knows, 50 years now. I'll make a note that next time I need to go a little heavier because I made it past my 8 or 9 reps. I do not go to complete failure, but I go to where if I did 1 more set, I would fail. I'm sorry, 1 more rep, I would fail. And then I wait another minute and I do a 3rd set. And on the 3rd set, I go to failure. Now, folks, you have to be smart. If you're doing bench press and you're doing it free weights, you cannot go to failure if you're alone. So if I'm in the gym in town, I'll just grab whoever's near me and go, hey, keep an eye on me and take this weight off of me when I can't get it off of me anymore. And I get that set to failure that way. That's just the way it works, okay? When it comes to shoulder press, it's easy to get to failure and just put the weight down. Usually I rack it. If I'm doing dumbbell shoulder press, I'll just bring them down and put them on the ground. Do not throw weights around. Do not drop them. It doesn't impress anyone. It makes you look like an asshole. Do not do that. But that's how I get my 3rd sets to failure. Of course, when I do dips, when I end up in a down position, I can't get up anymore in the 3rd set, that's the last rep. It's easy to do with pull-ups and lat pulls and rowing and all of that. 1st set, easy. 2nd set, get a good pump on it. 3rd set to failure. Now, a lot of times you can't get to complete failure. And you don't have to. As long as you notice that you're gaining strength over time, right? So people go, what? Go 80%? No. Go 90, 95%. Get that last rep out. As long as you notice that every couple of weeks your weights increase and you're getting stronger, you're doing enough to recruit new muscle cells and build your body, right? So that's fine. Now you're going to say, well, Vin, you gave me a little protocol here to go with the exercises. How often? Well, if you work a muscle once a week, the best you can hope for is to not get weaker. You won't particularly get stronger, but you won't get weaker. And if you're someone that's past 50 years old and sarcopenia is taking over, sarcopenia is going to win that game a lot faster. I suggest working a muscle twice a week. I'm going to tell you how I do it, okay? I'm going to use Monday as the first day. I'll go in and do my push. And by the way, it only takes me 30 minutes or so to do this. I'll do the push, the bench press, the shoulder press, the dips, this kind of thing. That's all on Monday. Okay. And on Tuesday, I go in and I do pull. That's either pull-ups or lat pulls, wide and close. If I do 3 sets of wide, I'll do 2 sets of close or vice versa. I'll do some rowing. I might do 2 different rowing exercises, dumbbell rows on the bench, and then maybe cable rows, or I'll do prison-style barbell rows, which is still one of my favorites. You need a strong back to do it. If you have back trouble, don't do that one, okay? On one of those 2 days, I will do an ab routine. Oh, wait, Vin, you didn't mention abs yet. Yes, I'll do a couple of sets of abs. I might do the Roman chair. I might do the slings. I might do my inverted. I have the gravity boots here at the house. I might do some floor abs. I'll pick two. What I'll do is I'll pick 2 exercises and do 2 sets of each. And I'll get as close to failure as I can. When I get that good burn, that's all you need to do. Okay? You don't have to go past that. You're working the muscle. You're sending a message, hey, let's recruit new muscle cells here and let's keep moving, right? So I'll do that on one of those 2 workouts. Let's just say I did it on Monday. Tuesday is the pull day. Now, Wednesday is legs. Never skip leg day, as they say. I might do a t-shirt, never skip leg day. On leg day, you will do, look, I started different every time. Sometimes I start on squats. Truth be known, I do 5 sets. Wait, what? 5 sets is a lot of squats. I like to grease the skids. I'm old, right? So I'll do a set with nothing on the bar. And then I'll do another set where I might throw a couple of 10s on each side and really grease the skids. Do 15 reps of both of those. So that's 30 reps, just to make sure my back is playing along, my knees, everything is doing what I want it to do. And then after that, I'll do a good warm-up set and then add some more weight, do a medium set. And of course, I'm not going to do a set to failure. And they, like some powerlifting gyms, they have slings made so that you can end up at the bottom. I don't go to failure on those. I go until I think I can't do another rep, and then I put them away. When my back is acting up on those, I go right over to the belt squats and do that instead. If my back is not acting up, I usually go over and do deadlift next. After that, I will choose either lunges with or without weights. And usually it's with, I'll put a barbell on my back and do lunges that way. And then the other thing I may or may not do is leg press. The deal is I'll pick 3 leg exercises. Usually it's, here are the 4 I generally do. All right, so I do squats, lunges, deadlifts, leg press. Okay? I pick 3 of the 4 every time. Squats are almost always in there. But it might be squats, leg press, deadlift. The next time it might be squats, lunges, leg press. It changes up every time. Okay? You should do the same thing. Now, that's a 3-day routine. Sometimes I take the 4th day off. Make that an aerobic day. By the way, I do aerobics on all the other days anyway. I have time. This is what I do for a living. I'm very blessed that I get to do that. I may take the next day off, or I may not take the next day off. It depends on what's coming up over the weekend. Let's say I have a skeet shooting competition, or Serena and I are going kayaking, or something is coming up. I got to go give a speech somewhere. I'll just go right back on Thursday, go to bench, doing push. Now, when I go in the second time that week, I won't start with the bench. Okay? I will start with something else. Shoulder press. And then maybe do dips next. And then do the bench third. Now the bench is in third place. I'm not going to do anywhere near the weight I did the last time because I've worn myself out already. But I gave something else the clean shot of really working hard, right? So I change it up every time. On pull day, if I started with lat pulls and all that the first time that week, I'll come back the second time that week and do something different. Usually I'll start with rowing, cable rows, dumbbell rows, barbell rows, and then go on to pull-ups maybe. If I did lat pulls, I'll do pull-ups. And then the third day, which would be Saturday, I will go in and do the legs again. Okay. You might be sitting there going, Vin, I don't have 6 days a week. Good news. I have a 4-day-a-week routine for you. You could go 4 days a week, you just put push and pull on one day. That'll make it a longer day, probably an hour and 15 minutes. The next day you do legs. You take the third day off. You go back in and do push and pull again on Thursday and then do legs on Friday. So now we just took a 6-day routine and turned it into a 4-day routine. Or you can do this. But this ends up doing one, this is just a maintenance routine. Push on Monday, pull on Wednesday, legs on Friday. Or you could do push and pull on Monday, legs on Wednesday, and then push and pull on Friday, so that the next week you start with legs on Monday. So you see, every other week you'll be doing legs twice, and on the opposite week you'll be doing upper body twice. That's another routine that works well for people who are challenged with time. I'm talking about you parents, with each parent with a job and you got 2 kids, right? So now we'll get down to the twice a week routine. That would be where you're doing 1 set to failure. Does it work? Oh, hell yeah, it works. I've done this with a lot of clients. I've actually done it with myself a lot. I do not like this routine. As a matter of fact, my good friend, the billionaire, Don Coddington.
It's the billionaire, Don Coddington's Friday, 5 o'clock.
Has been doing 1 set to failure for a lot of years. And he looks amazing. I mean, he keeps a lot of muscle on his body doing 1 set to failure. If you're going to do that, you have to be very honest with yourself. And I'm going to tell you, it sucks. And we're going to have Ben Bokikio on the show. He might even be on before this show comes out. Ben Bokikio was there in the early days with Arthur Jones, who came up with the whole Nautilus system, the 12 reps to failure system. And it works. It works like a charm. It's just very difficult to do. As a matter of fact, Don goes to a trainer in New York that does, super slow 1 set to failure, kicking your ass, and you got to have someone standing over you yelling at you to really get it done. I'm very, very good at doing this stuff, and I still have to push myself because your brain keeps telling you, take me out of this pain. But I've seen people successfully do 30 minutes twice a week, like a Monday, Friday, or a Monday, Wednesday, or Monday, Thursday routine, something like that, twice a week, and keep sarcopenia at bay. I've actually seen them put muscle on. It works like a charm, but it's difficult. I'm just going to leave that there. If you feel like you're one of those people that can do it, you can do it. Now, I've seen people just do what I would call calisthenics, but they're not really, where they'll do a couple of times a week 1 set of push-ups to failure. They'll do 1 set of sit-ups to failure. They'll do 1 set of planks where you're holding yourself in a static position to failure. 1 set of pull-ups to failure. And then ass to grass squats or, lunges or, sitting on a wall or doing something like that. They never walk into a gym. I'm going to go through them again. Push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and some sort of leg squat. You could do them without weights, or you could do lunges, or you could do wall sits to failure. I've seen people get incredible results of doing that either every other day or twice a week. It's amazing what you could do with no weights. So I just want to put that out there. You don't have to have a fancy gym. I don't want to hear, Vinny, I can't afford a gym membership. I can't afford to be away from my family. I take care of my elderly, blah, blah, blah. I've heard every story. Where there's a will, there's a way. And if you go, well, how am I supposed to get a pull-up bar? Amazon, less than $50, you can get a proper pull-up bar that fits in a doorway, and it works like a charm. When I had my makeshift gym during the beginning of COVID, I called Amazon and got one of those pull-up bars that I gave to the neighbor when I moved into this house, and the neighbor still uses it. She told me the other day, I'm still doing my pull-ups on that bar. Where there's a will, there's a way. You can do all of this, okay? No big deal. I think I've covered it here. Let's see. Anna Vocino has a book out. It's sitting right over there. It's Eat Happy Italian. It's her new book. It's kicking ass, folks. Get it for yourself. Get it for Christmas, for friends. Eat Happy Italian is Anna's new book. Go to annavocino.substack.com to learn everything and where Anna's going to be and how she's going to be and everything else. With me, also my movie Dirty Keto is out there on Amazon, so check that out. Oh, Villa Capelli olive oil. I forgot. I was so into the weightlifting routine, I forgot to say this. Villa Capelli, longest running sponsor of this show, Villa Capelli. People ask me all the time about olive oil. Go get the best, Villa Capelli. Let them know we sent you. Put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE. You'll get 10% off every single time, not just the first time. Every single time. I put the discount code in when I go to Villa Capelli. I'm no better than you. They don't send me free oil or anything else. I get it. As a matter of fact, I just ordered 2 3-liter tins. I just ordered 6 liters of Villa Capelli. I put in the promo code. Plus, I got free shipping because I spent more than $125 after the promo code. So check that out. We played a little Chris Stapleton on the way in. We're going to play a little Chris Stapleton on the way out. On behalf of Anna Vocino, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with this guy.
Used to spend my nights out in the ballroom. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back, being too far gone. You're rescued.
Thank you for listening to Fitness Confidential. Get more information at VinnieTortorich.com. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes. And follow Vinnie and Anna on Instagram and Twitter.